3 years ago, I made one of the biggest decisions in my life, and that was to start the process of moving to the US. And the first thing was, of course, to get a visa to the US. And that whole process was a very long and difficult process, and I was really confused where to start and where to end, and it was all very overwhelming. So in this video, I'm gonna share my process with you, getting the O-1A visa and showing you that it's not impossible. If you just follow along and follow my advices, then you'll be on the way to also get an O-1A visa, because it's not impossible. But let's get into the video. So 3 years ago, when I made this decision, the first thing was to find a company that could help me. And it felt kind of overwhelming because there's a lot of companies out there, there's lawyers here on YouTube, and there's so many people out there basically. And I really had no idea what company to use. Should it be a local lawyer somewhere, or should it be some big corporation, someone very specialized in this, or what was like the direction? I didn't really know. But then after doing some research and contacting a few companies, I decided to go with the company Deal. And the reason why I chose this company back then was because I saw they were very specialized in immigration visas. And I felt this was a good idea because I just wanted to make sure I could get the visa. I didn't want to choose some risky solution just to save $2,000 or whatever. I wanted to make sure I would get the visa, that it would go through and everything would be okay. And then I had a couple of talks with them, and then I had a good feeling and I felt, okay, this is going to be the company I'm going to use for my O-1A visa. So that was like the first step of the research thing, and also the company I would recommend today. I also have the links in the description, but I'm going to tell you more in this video about the whole process and why I think Deal was a good choice. When I had the initial talks with Deal, they told me, we recommend you getting the O-1A visa, but you can also get the E-2 visa, because before I talked with them, I thought I could only get the E-2 visa. I didn't know that I could qualify for the O-1A visa, because I thought the O-1A visa was only for, actors or famous people, and it sounded like, okay, you need to be extraordinary, and it sounded like, okay, I don't know if I'm extraordinary. I think maybe more the investor's visa, investing some money, was more my path. But they told me, okay, it's one of these solutions. We recommend the O-1A visa also because this is going to be the path to the green card. I went along with the O-1A visa because it seemed like it was the better fit. But the first thing before really starting the whole petition and paperwork was that I needed to have a company or find a company that I could work for. And since I'm an entrepreneur and my idea was to go there to start my own business, then what I did was to form a company. And here I used Doula, which is a really good company to form a company. It's super easy. I also add a link in the description. It is focused on international entrepreneurs that want to start a company in the US. So this is a perfect way to have your LLC or C Corp before starting the petition. So that's basically what I did, went ahead, and then I had my company and I was ready to start the visa application. So then after maybe 4 or 5 weeks, I had all the paperwork I needed from the company. So then we could start the process of the visa. And basically the way it works with this visa is that there is 9 categories and you need to qualify for 3 of these. And these categories, you can see them here, is everything from if you had press, if you made a lot of money, if you have been an author with something, or you got investment and other things like that. So you need to see if you're strong in some of these categories. And that's what Deal had told me already in the initial talks, that it seemed like I had a strong enough profile for this. So the next step was basically just to collect all of these documents and proof and whatever, so that they could build the case basically. So that is kind of the structure of the process. Of course, there's many other details that I'm not going to get into in this video. You need some recommendations also from other people, and there's different things with the paperwork that is important. But the most essential thing you need to ask yourself about is finding these 3 categories that you need to qualify in. And as mentioned before, it can sound like a lot that you need to be extraordinary. What does that mean? Do you need to be the next Messi or something like that? And no, that is not the case. You just need to show that over a couple of years, maybe it's 3 years if you've been really successful, or maybe it's 10 years, you need to show that you are one of the best in your field. So if you've been a successful entrepreneur, maybe you had some press, maybe you were in the newspapers, maybe you were in some podcasts, maybe you were in the news or other things like that. And then this can be one way to qualify for that category as an example. Then also, if you're an entrepreneur, then maybe you had an investment one way or another. It can be anything from a grant, from like a public grant, but it can also be private investors, incubators. There can also be one way to get another category. And then there's also original contributions. Have one of your companies done something very original? Maybe you came up with something very unique. Maybe the product you're selling or service is very unique and different. So there is a lot of opportunities if you really try to look for it, if you try to see, okay, where is it actually I have something that is strong enough for the different categories? Because for me, it was like 4 or 5 categories where I could potentially qualify, and then the other ones I was not good enough. I didn't have the high salary. I was not an author, and some of the other things that it was not really my categories. But really, this is where you need to look and try to write down, okay, can I really qualify in some of these? And I mean, also if you're not an entrepreneur, maybe you have press in another way, or maybe you were original in your acting or original in whatever other things. So again, it's really about like trying to brainstorm a bit. And also what is important to say is that if you feel you're not fully there, or if you would have a talk with Deal or any other company and they say your profile is not strong enough, that doesn't mean that it's game over. It just means maybe the next 6 or 12 months you need to work on your profile so that you're going to be strong enough to actually apply for this visa. I think this is the most important thing to think about in all of this, because again, there's a lot of things if you really read every detail, but the most essential thing is, can you qualify in 3 categories? And if the answer is yes, then there's a good opportunity you can qualify. If I should give you examples with me, I had a lot of press, maybe like 100 times I was in the media, but it was not really so important the amount of times. It was more that I was mentioned in some big newspapers, because then when we made the petition, then they put in how much traffic does these different news sites have, because these news sites was local news sites. It was not some US one. So of course the immigration doesn't know. Then the lawyers added the proof where they could see, okay, this is a big website talking about Christopher. And also one thing that helped me was that I was in the Scandinavian Shark Tank. And then again, this was great both exposure for the PR, but also that I got investment and like kind of won an award. So there's many ways to twist these things. So the fact that I got an investment in a TV show was kind of an award. And it's the same. I think you need to think about, okay, is this successful experience? Is that an award or is it something else? So you need to be, you can be a little creative here. You can try, and this is of course something the lawyers knows better on how you navigate in this and do it the right way. But basically the process was just this, and there was some hiccups on the way, and it took a long time from me signing the papers until I had the visa was around 1 year. So it does take a long time. It can take less time if you have all the things ready and there's no hiccups on the way. Maybe it's 6 to 8 months. That's probably doable, but you should expect things gonna take some time. There's gonna be some follow-up questions. There's gonna be some stupid document that you don't have that you need. And after I got all these documents and they built the case, then we sent it into the immigration. And then at that time, I paid an extra fee to have it processed faster. It's called the premium processing. I think right now it's around $2,800 as extra fee. But then 2 weeks later, I got approval for the visa, and then I was finally ready to make the move. The only thing I had to do was to go to the embassy and get the visa inside my passport. But basically this was the process explained in a simplified way. I think what is important to say in this video is that if you're a person dreaming of moving to the US and you are like a strong individual, the O-1 visa can be a really good choice, because it's 3 years. It's the path to the green card. You can get the O-1A afterwards because it's similar qualifications, just a little more difficult, but it's like the similar structure. And also you have like a good amount of flexibility, I would say. I mean, I work for my own company, so I feel like I'm not completely locked down in a specific way with this visa, because there's many other visas where you are completely locked to some company or some situation, and then you can't really, you have the visa but you don't have the freedom in a way, if that makes sense. So I think this is a really great visa for entrepreneurs or other individuals that wants to move to the US and have a strong background. And again, I would recommend using Deal for this. I think this is the best option out there. Of course, there's many other great companies as well, but this is the ones I have my experience with. Add links in the description. And feel free to drop some questions or comments. If you have another experience or other input, maybe there's another visa you think that is better for entrepreneurs. And the E2 visa is a good alternative as well. I've also made other videos here on the channel where I talk about the visas, where I go more in detail about the O-1 visa and also other visas, and also how to be prepared before moving to the US. But I just want to make this video because I want to help more entrepreneurs out there that is dreaming of moving to the US, that feel is super overwhelming, because I remember I had that feeling that it was super overwhelming. I had a dream, but it was very difficult to really, when you sit in your home country and you want to make that change in your life, but you feel, where do we even start? And that was the feeling I had, but I took the chance and I went for it. And today I'm super thankful for being in the US and having all these great experiences after making that big decision. So lastly, I just want to say, follow your heart and your dreams, and if everything goes bad, you can always go back to your home country. That is always what I tell myself when things are difficult, and it's better than having regrets, not doing the things you're actually dreaming about.